Story number 1, The Previous Tenant. I found the journal 3 weeks after moving into my new apartment. It was stuck behind the radiator in the bedroom, one of those cheap composition notebooks with a black and white marbled cover. I only noticed it because I dropped my phone and it slid under the radiator. When I reached back there, my fingers brushed against the notebook. The first few pages were normal. Grocery lists, work schedules, doodles. Dated from about 2 years ago. Then, about halfway through, the handwriting changed. Got messier. More frantic. It started with the knocking. Always at 11:34 p.m. Always 3 knocks. I thought it was the neighbors, but when I checked, no one was there. I felt my skin prickle. I'd heard knocking too. Same time. Same pattern. I'd assumed it was pipes. I kept reading. Tonight I saw her. Standing in the corner of my bedroom. A woman in a white dress, facing the wall. I turned on the light, and she was gone. But the corner was wet, like she'd been dripping. My mouth went dry. Last week, I'd found a wet spot in that exact corner. I called the landlord thinking it was a leak. He checked and found nothing wrong. The entries got worse. She's not just in the corner anymore. Last night, she was at the foot of my bed, still facing away. I can't see her face. I don't want to see her face. I tried staying at a friend's house, but when I came back, my bathroom mirror had writing on it. Condensation. It said, "Don't leave me." She speaks now. Whispers my name. Elizabeth. Elizabeth. Over and over. I'm not sleeping. Can't sleep. She's always there when I close my eyes. Then, the final entry. The handwriting was barely legible. I understand now. She doesn't want to hurt me. She wants to be me. Every night, she looks a little more solid. A little more real. And I look in the mirror and I'm starting to look faded, transparent, like I'm the ghost and she's becoming alive. If you're reading this, you're probably the new tenant. I'm so sorry. She needs someone to drain. Someone to replace what she lost. I thought if I left, she'd stay here. But I was wrong. She follows whoever lives here. And once you've seen her, it's too late. You're already fading. My name was Elizabeth Hart. I'm writing this so someone knows I existed. Because soon, I don't think I will anymore. The notebook ended there. I immediately Googled Elizabeth Hart and my address. The search results made my blood run cold. Elizabeth Hart had lived here. She'd been reported missing 18 months ago. Her family said she'd become paranoid, erratic, stopped showing up to work. Then one day, she just vanished. Left everything behind. Police investigated but found no signs of foul play. The case was still unsolved. I told myself it was a coincidence. Some kind of prank. But that night, at exactly 11:34 p.m., I heard it. Knock. 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 I didn't get up. I stayed in bed, covers pulled up to my chin, telling myself it was nothing. Then I heard the whisper. My name. My actual name. Jessica. 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 I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and shined it around the room. She was standing in the corner. White dress. Long dark hair covering her face. Facing the wall. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. Just watched as water dripped from her dress onto the floor. Then, slowly, she turned around. But where her face should have been, there was nothing. Just a blank, smooth surface. Like someone had erased her features. My flashlight flickered. When it came back on, she was at the foot of my bed. I ran. Grabbed my keys and phone and ran straight out of that apartment. I stayed in a hotel that night, and the next morning I went back with a friend to get my things. You're overreacting, she said. It was probably sleep paralysis or something. But when we walked into the bedroom, we both stopped. The corner where the woman had stood was still wet, and on the wall, written in the moisture, were words. Welcome home, Jessica. I broke my lease that day. Lost my deposit, didn't care. I moved in with my friend temporarily while I looked for a new place. That was 3 months ago. Last week, my friend came to me looking pale. Jessica, have you been going into my room at night? What? No, why? Because I keep waking up and seeing someone standing in the corner, facing the wall. I thought it was you sleepwalking or something. My heart dropped. And this morning, she continued, pulling out her phone, I found this on my bathroom mirror. She showed me a photo, written in condensation. She's fading nicely. I looked down at my hands. In the right light, I could see through them. Just barely. Like looking through frosted glass. Every day, I'm a little more transparent. Every day, I see her a little more clearly in mirrors and windows. Standing behind me, looking more solid, more real. And her face, she has a face now. It looks exactly like mine. Story number 2, the hitchhiker rule. My grandfather had one rule he repeated my entire childhood. Never pick up hitchhikers. Ever. No matter what. He'd get this haunted look when he said it, and we all knew not to ask why. It was just Grandpa's rule. We respected it. When he died last year, my grandmother finally told me the story. It happened in 1987. Grandpa was driving home from a late shift at the factory, taking the old highway that cut through the woods. This was before cell phones, before GPS. Just empty road and darkness. Around midnight, his headlights caught someone standing on the shoulder. A young woman in a blue dress, thumb out, hitchhiking. My grandfather slowed down. He'd picked up hitchhikers before. It was more common back then. But something made him hesitate. The woman looked off. He couldn't explain it. Her dress was too clean, too bright for someone who'd been walking on a dusty road. And she was completely still. Not shifting her weight, not moving at all. Just standing there with her thumb out, staring straight ahead. He almost drove past. But then he thought about his own daughter, my mom, who was 16 at the time. What if she was stranded somewhere, needing help? He pulled over. The woman opened the passenger door and slid in without a word. No, thank you. No explanation. Just sat there, staring straight ahead through the windshield. Where you headed? My grandfather asked. She didn't respond. Didn't even blink. He tried again. Miss, where do you need to go? Nothing. Starting to feel uneasy, he put the car back in drive and continued down the road. He'd drop her at the next town, let her be someone else's problem. They drove in silence for about 5 minutes. That's when he noticed something in his peripheral vision. She was turning her head, slowly, mechanically, turning to look at him. He kept his eyes on the road, hence gripping the wheel tighter. You shouldn't have stopped, she said. Her voice was wrong. Flat, like a recording. Look, if you don't tell me where you're going, I'm going to have to. You shouldn't have stopped. You shouldn't have stopped. You shouldn't have stopped. Over and over, the same phrase, in that same emotionless tone. My grandfather's heart was pounding. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, and that's when he saw it. The reflection showed the passenger seat empty. He looked directly at the seat. She was there. Solid. Real. Back to the mirror. Empty. Pull over, she said, still in that flat voice. Pull over and close your eyes. Get out of my car. His voice was shaking. Pull over and close your eyes. Count to 60. Don't look. Never look. He slammed on the brakes. Get out. The woman turned her head a full 180 degrees, neck twisting in a way that wasn't possible, until she was staring at him with eyes that were completely black. No whites. No pupils. Just solid black. You looked, she said. Then she smiled, and her mouth kept opening, wider and wider, impossibly wide, and my grandfather saw that there was nothing inside. No teeth, no tongue. Just darkness. He squeezed his eyes shut and screamed. When he opened them again, she was gone. The passenger door was hanging open. The overhead light was on. And on the seat where she'd been sitting was a Polaroid photograph. He picked it up with shaking hands. It was a picture of him. In his car. Taken from the back seat. From that night. But there was someone sitting next to him in the photo. The woman in the blue dress. And she was holding something in her lap. Another Polaroid. My grandfather looked closer, hands trembling. In the photo she was holding, there was another image of him in his car. With her. And she was holding another photo. And another. And another. An infinite regression of the same moment. But in each successive photo he looked older. Grayer. Thinner. In the deepest photo he could see, the one barely visible, he was just a skeleton. Still driving. Still gripping the wheel. And she was still sitting next to him, smiling. My grandfather never drove that road again. He took a 20-mile detour every day to avoid it. He never picked up another hitchhiker. And he never, ever looked at that Polaroid again. Grandmother said he kept it in a lockbox in the basement. As a reminder, she said. After she told me the story, I was skeptical. Grandpa had been getting senile toward the end. Maybe he just had a vivid dream or hallucination. But curiosity got the better of me. I went down to the basement and found the lockbox. The key was in his desk drawer. Inside was the Polaroid. I wish I'd listened to his rule about never looking. Because he was right. The photo showed him in his car, 1987, with the woman in the blue dress. And she was holding another photo. And another. But here's what made me drop the photograph. In the most recent layer I could see, the one that should have been from 1987, the car was different. It was my car. The blue Honda I'd inherited from him. And the driver wasn't my grandfather. It was me. Same clothes I was wearing. Same haircut, taken from the back seat. I looked at the date stamp on the bottom of the Polaroid. Yesterday. I don't remember picking up any hitchhikers. I've never picked up a hitchhiker in my life. But last night, I did drive on that old highway. The GPS took me that way when the main road was closed for construction. And now that I think about it, I did feel like someone was sitting in my passenger seat. I just didn't look. This morning, I found another Polaroid on my doorstep. I haven't opened the envelope yet. I'm too afraid to see how many photos deep it goes now. Or how much older I look in each one. My grandmother died 3 days ago. At the funeral, my mother handed me a sealed envelope. She wanted you to have this, Mom said, her eyes red from crying. She made me promise to give it to you after she passed. Wouldn't tell me what was inside. I opened it that night. Inside was a handwritten letter and an old recipe card. The letter read, "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. What I'm about to tell you has been a burden for 63 years, and I'm relieved to finally be free of it. You always said my cooking was magical. You were more right than you knew. I need you to destroy the recipe card I've enclosed. Burn it. Don't read it. Don't try it. Don't even think about it. But I know you, Emma. You're curious, just like I was. So if you insist on knowing the truth, read what I've written below. But remember, some family secrets are secrets for a reason. I love you. I'm sorry. Grandma." Of course I kept reading. "In 1959, I was 23 and newly married to your grandfather. We were poor, desperately poor. Your grandfather had been laid off, and I was pregnant with your mother. We had nothing. One night, an old woman knocked on our door. A traveling saleswoman, she said. She had a special recipe to sell, one that would ensure we'd never go hungry again. It always works, she promised. You make the dish, you serve it to someone you want to impress, and they'll give you whatever you ask for. Job offers, money, opportunities. It opens doors." I laughed at her, but she pointed to the diamond ring on her finger, the expensive coat she wore. "How do you think a woman like me survives alone?" she asked. She wanted $50, a fortune we didn't have, but she saw how desperate I was. "I'll give it to you free," she said. "On one condition. You must use it at least once a year, every year. If you skip a year, there's a price." I should have said no, but your grandfather needed a job. Your mother needed food. So I agreed. The recipe was for a stew. Normal ingredients, mostly. Beef, vegetables, herbs. But the instructions had some odd additions. A strand of your own hair, a drop of your own blood, and you had to prepare it while thinking of a specific person, the one you wanted to influence. I made it the next week, served it to your grandfather's old boss when we invited him for dinner. I thought of him offering your grandfather his job back. He loved it, raved about it, and before the night was over, he offered your grandfather a better position than he'd had before. It worked, so I used it again, and again, every time we needed something. Your grandfather never knew. I told him my cooking had just improved. Every year, at least once, I'd make the recipe. Job promotions for your grandfather. College acceptance for your mother. Business deals. Everything we needed, that stew provided. But in 1987, I forgot. Your mother was getting married. Your grandfather was sick. I was distracted. The whole year passed, and I never made it. That's when the knocking started. Every night at 3 a.m., someone would knock on the bedroom door. I'd open it, no one there. Your grandfather slept through it somehow. Just me, hearing those 3 knocks. Then I started seeing her, the old woman who'd given me the recipe, standing at the foot of my bed, watching me. "You broke the deal," she'd whisper. "There's a price." I made the stew the next day, fed it to a neighbor, asked for nothing. Just needed to fulfill the requirement. The knocking stopped. The woman disappeared, but the neighbor died 3 days later. Heart attack. She was only 42. I realized then what the price meant. If I didn't use the recipe willingly, it would use itself. And it would take instead of give. I've made it every year since. Sometimes for good reasons. Sometimes just to fulfill the requirement. Every person who's eaten it has given me something: money, favors, opportunities. But Emma, I kept track. I was curious about what happened to them. Every single person who ate my special stew, and I mean every single one, died within 5 years. Car accidents, illnesses, suicides, one by one. The stew gives you what you want, but it takes their luck, their life force, drains them slowly until there's nothing left. I've killed 47 people over 63 years. Your grandfather, your mother's college dean, your father's business partner, friends, neighbors, strangers, all dead. I tried to stop. In 2001, I skipped a year on purpose. I was ready to face the consequences. But the woman came back. And she didn't just knock. I woke up to find her standing over your bed, Emma. You were 13, sleeping peacefully. She had her hand outstretched, reaching for your face. Make the stew, she whispered, or I take her instead. I made it the next day. So now you know. The recipe card is enclosed. You don't have to use it. You shouldn't use it. But I need you to know it exists, because I made the stew one last time, 2 weeks before I died. I made it for you, Emma. You ate it when you visited. The beef stew I sent you home with. Remember? I'm so sorry, but I had to. Because the deal doesn't end with death. It passes to the next woman in the family. You're already bound to it now. You'll start hearing the knocking soon. 3 knocks. Every night. You have until the anniversary of my death to make it yourself. 1 year. If you don't, the woman will come for someone you love. I've cursed you. I know that. But I couldn't let it end with me. The woman wouldn't allow it. The recipe is yours now. Use it or don't. But the choice will be made for you eventually. I love you. I'm so sorry. I sat there, handshaking, reading the letter over and over. Grandma had served me stew 2 weeks before she died. I'd taken leftovers home. Ate them that night. This was insane. Impossible. But that night, at exactly 3 a.m., I heard it. Knock. 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 I opened my bedroom door. The hallway was empty. This went on for 3 nights. Always at 3 a.m. Always 3 knocks. On the 4th night, I saw her. An old woman at the foot of my bed. She looked exactly like Grandma had described. Expensive clothes. Diamond rings. Cold, dead eyes. 1 year, she whispered. Then you choose. Make the stew, or I take someone. She vanished. I looked at the recipe card. My hands were trembling. The ingredients were all normal, except for the last 3 lines. Add 1 strand of your hair. Add 3 drops of your blood. Stir clockwise while thinking of their face. And at the bottom, in faded ink, the debt must be paid. The deal must be kept. Feed them, and they will feed you. I wanted to burn it. I should have burned it. But yesterday I got a call. I didn't get the job I'd interviewed for. My rent is due. My student loans are crushing me. And I kept thinking, just once, just to get back on my feet. The ingredients are on my counter right now. I have 11 months left before the anniversary. I'm not going to use it. I'm not. But I also haven't burned it. And I can't stop thinking about my interview next week. For a job I desperately need. It would be so easy. Just a stew. Just once. After all, Grandma used it for 63 years. Most of those people would have died eventually anyway, right? I'm writing this because I need someone to know, in case I make the wrong choice. If you get invited to my place for dinner in the next few months, and I serve you beef stew, please don't eat it. Please. End.